Today is November 14th, 2023. I'm Susan Bradford, and this is the Susan Bradford Show. So today's topic is Ivanka Trump married to the mob. Now, Ivanka Trump recently provided testimony about the Trump Organization's alleged overvaluation of properties as part of a fraudulent strategy to secure favorable treatment from banks. The first daughter has been thrust into the limelight once again over her family's profit-seeking predation. Whether or not she was cognizant of the details surrounding the deals in question, she certainly was a beneficiary of them. Examples abound. To cite one, after a Trump-backed faction acquired control of the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Council in 1999, that tribe's government sold its embassy on Capitol Hill to the Republic of Azerbaijan. At the time, the political establishment considered Azerbaijan an important strategic ally. For one, the country had contracted with American companies through a $2.6 billion stimulus package to build a strategic highway called the Old Silk Road as part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Senator John McCain, who had advised the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Council to sell the embassy to the Republic of Azerbaijan, was being bankrolled by the oil lobby at the time. Between 1989 and 2008, McCain raised more than $3 million from oil and gas industry insiders, while 43 McCain staffers and fundraisers received $16.7 million in lobbying fees from at least 30 oil and gas industry corporations and associations, according to Campaign Money Watch. Between 1999 and 2000, one of these firms earned $120,000 representing British Petroleum, while BP led the consortium to drill for oil in the Caspian Sea. The consortium sought to transport natural gas across Georgia and Turkey and into the Balkan states. By 2007, these oil fields were valued at more than $10 billion, while its foreign exchange reserves were projected to grow to over $200 billion. Azerbaijan was the linchpin in Washington's efforts to diversify Europe's gas imports away from Russia. Once the embassy was sold, construction of a new prospective Trump Tower got underway in Baku, Azerbaijan, overlooking the Caspian Sea. The establishment was a magnet for the oligarchs, and the area deemed a hotbed of international money laundering, as plutocrats from around the world gathered to conceive strategies in which to parcel out the world's resources to themselves. In 2012, the Trump Organization attempted to transform the Baku Tower into a luxury hotel through a licensing deal, with Ivanka overseeing the effort. Reflecting Trump's longstanding ties to Azerbaijan, in 2018, the country retained Ballard Partners, a leading Trump fundraiser, as its lobbying firm on record. In a separate deal, Ivanka was tapped to develop the Trump International Hotel and Tower, called the Ocean Club in Panama, where Trump's broker was reportedly in business with a money launderer and two criminals from the former Soviet Union, according to Reuters. One investor in the project, who was Ukrainian, was reportedly arrested for alleged people smuggling. The Panama project was Ivanka's baby, that is, one intended to help her acquire property management experience. Based upon a prospectus, Ocean View was expected to generate at least $75 million for Trump through a licensing deal. Ivanka helped promote the enterprise in a video released in 2010, in which she praised our beautiful pool decks. Ivanka was also the beneficiary of alleged mob activity in which she had no apparent part. And then there was her peripheral appearance in the Abramoff scandals. Few are aware of Donald Trump's strategic alliance with Republican super lobbyist Jack Abramoff, nor Abramoff's long history with Trump bankruptcy advisor Wilbur Ross and their joint efforts to secure wealth and power for the Russian oligarchs. As the nation's most infamous super lobbyist, who spurred the nation's most far-reaching federal corruption probe in American history, Jack Abramoff served as a hired gun to help Trump eliminate a competitor casino enterprise from the coveted casino market on behalf of the Seminole tribe. That business was Sun Cruise. Like many before and after him, Abramoff lost his career, reputation, and legal standing by allowing greed to get the better of him and deciding against his better judgment to risk everything to get in with Trump. A few years prior to the Sun Cruise deal, Trump had retained Greenberg Traurig for the purpose of securing a casino compact for the Seminole tribe. The Seminoles' nascent gambling operation was seeded by Meyer Lansky, the father of organized crime, one with ties to Trump's Resorts International in Atlantic City. Abramoff was connected to the deal through Preston Gates, where he worked as lobbyist for Microsoft. The firm represented the seller, Gus Bullis, Abramoff, the buyer, and Icon Public Affairs, a client. Icon employed longstanding Trump advisor Roger Stone, who represented the Trump Organization. Before the Seminoles could dominate the Florida market, Sun Cruise needed to be eliminated. So Abramoff and his partner, Adam Cadan, were apparently enlisted to engage Bullis under the pretext of purchasing his fleet while actually seeking to eliminate it from the market altogether. Cadan actively worked with the Seminoles to this end while cultivating a relationship with Trump. Conceived by Wells Fargo, the loan was designed to destroy the financial viability of Sun Cruise as part of this effort. Cadan and Abramoff were permitted to acquire the fleet without actually having to pay for it, while lending the impression that an actual loan had been granted and fulfilled. Abramoff had an in with Wells Fargo by way of Preston Gates after the bank acquired First Interstate, whose director was Mary Maxwell Gates, the wife of William Gates Sr., the firm's partner, and Bill Gates, CEO of Microsoft, Abramoff's client. Wells Fargo was advised in this deal by Schutt, Roth Zabel, a law firm which also represented Merrill Lynch, the Seminoles' financial advisor, and Invesco, a corporate asset stripper presided over by Wilbur Ross, Trump's bankruptcy advisor, who helped shore up wealth for Russian oligarchs by way of leading efforts to redirect American tax dollars to them. After the Sun Cruise loan went through, Bullis went public with the fraud, only to be gunned down in cold blood by members of the Gotti and Gambino crime families. Investigations into the murder never led back to the Seminoles. Once the dust cleared, Abramoff was rewarded with access to the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe and to the coveted closed but immensely lucrative markets and tribal casino businesses. It was not long after that Abramoff suffered the fate of other Trump colleagues and enablers. He wound up in federal crosshairs, prosecuted and jailed. As word of the Florida scandal spread, Preston Gates fired Abramoff, who was quickly appointed government affairs director for Greenberg Traurig, the firm Trump had retained as tribal counsel for the Seminoles. After using his newfound influence to claim the business of his colleagues for himself, Abramoff was targeted by lobbyists associated with Trump, who weaponized the government, courts, and media against Abramoff through a wholly manufactured scandal that enabled them to reclaim the business and railroad him into prison. Alexander Acosta, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida, who had negotiated a sweetheart deal for Jeffrey Epstein, promptly indicted Abramoff in the Sun Cruise matter, while apparently shielding the other parties. Once Abramoff received evidence from yours truly in 2007 on Trump's connection to the Seminole deal, Abramoff moved on to have Acosta resentence him. The Department of Justice then proceeded to take over Wells Fargo, perhaps accounting for why the agency has failed to pursue Microsoft vigorously over its anti-competitive monopolistic practices, reflecting perhaps that the elites had been caught red-handed. As Alaska common law judge Anna von Reitz observed, something very odd happened in 3 days in September of 2007. There were 3 U.S. attorney generals on 3 successive days. One guy resigned on September 17th. Another guy replaced him on September 18th. And then he immediately resigned the same day. And another guy entered office on September 19th. what appears to have happened is that Wells Fargo was acquired by the Office of the U.S. Attorney General as a forfeiture, that is, a loss of property to penalize a failure to act in accordance with a legal requirement. The bank was then run by the Office of the U.S. Attorney General for a period of years. Before entering prison, Abramoff was forced to abandon efforts with David Safavian at the General Services Administration, where he was attempting to acquire the old U.S. Post Office in Washington, D.C., so that he could transform the establishment into a hotel for his lobbying practice. Abramoff's loss was Trump's gain. With Abramoff out of the way, Trump acquired the U.S. Post Office and transformed it into a Trump establishment. As president, Trump pardoned Safavian, who was prosecuted in the federal government's case against Abramoff. The new Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. featured a spa by Ivanka. In testimony, Ivanka said she received $4 million from selling the Trump Hotel in 2022, and that she and her brothers each owned 7.5% of the property, while her father held a majority stake at 77.5%. In testimony, Ivanka said that she consulted Jared Kushner, who was Abramoff's business partner, for advice on financing efforts to convert the old post office into a Trump hotel. After serving time, Abramoff returned to lobby the Trump administration, only to fall into federal crosshairs again over Russian oligarchs, pot, bitcoins, and failing to register as a lobbyist. Abramoff's partner in the Bitcoin deal, AML Bitcoin founder Marcus Andrade, who fell into federal crosshairs through his association with Abramoff, accused the super lobbyist of colluding with Kushner to steal his Bitcoin business from him and weaponizing the Department of Justice against him. After leaving the White House, Kushner received over $2 billion from the Saudis over a private equity fund, one for which he was unqualified and insufficiently experienced to run, according to reports. The payment may have been payback for a deal he helped negotiate between the Saudis and Lockheed Martin, reminiscent of that forged by Adnan Khashoggi, an international money launderer and defense contractor. Khashoggi helped Trump acquire a yacht from the Filipino kleptocrats Ferdinand and Imelda Marcos, which Trump then renamed the Princess after Ivanka. Khashoggi's nephew, Jamal Khashoggi, dared criticize Trump and Saudi Prince MBS in his capacity as a reporter, only to be silenced by way of murder and dismemberment at the direction of MBS. Vanity Fair reported that Kushner played a leading role inside the Trump administration, defending MBS after Jamal Khashoggi's murder, and urged Donald Trump to support the prince, arguing that the whole situation would blow over. Whether the scandals and alleged fraud now engulfing the Trump organization will blow over are anyone's guess. Properly prosecuting whatever alleged fraud surrounds the Trumps is critical to restoring integrity to our nation's institutions, as the corruption runs far and deep. While Ivanka may not have been directly involved in alleged crimes concerning her family, she certainly has been a beneficiary, as the polished, refined window dressing and graceful, wealthy front woman who covers for the wicked actions of ruthless, unprincipled men, reminiscent of the privileges, burdens, and Faustian bargains of women who marry into or are otherwise born into the mob. So that is it for this report. If you want more information on Trump's relationship with Jack Abramoff, I have included it in my books, Lynched, which is the first record that I wrote, first book on the Abramoff investigation. You may also be interested in Jack Abramoff, Rothschild Zionist, which accounts my personal relationship with Jack Abramoff, and my most recent book, Taking Back America, which details his more wider, Jack Abramoff's wider relationship with Donald Trump, which continued on through the Trump administration. So if you like this video, I hope you will click the like button, and I would be delighted if you would subscribe to my channel. Thank you once again for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.